guys, this is Christina Rose, and you're watching the productive. What was it?
Co-Operative podcast.
I should write this down. This is Christina Rose, and you're watching the Co-Operative podcast.
Okay, so greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special TCP podcast. Here we have Miss Christina Rose today. Miss Christina Rose, please introduce yourself to us.
Hi, I'm Christina Rose. Thanks, guys, so much for having me. And as I was saying, I'm so sorry it took me so long, but I'm actually getting married soon. So I've been planning a wedding, and I'm also starting a production company and all the other work. So it's been busy, but I am happy to be here today with you guys.
Here comes the bride. No, I'm kidding.
Soon.
Yes. So I wanted to introduce my co-host here, Mr. Inferno Dragon. Please introduce yourself, good sir.
How you doing, all you good people?
And of course, I am Renegade Operative, the co-host here. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with the first question here. So let's break the ice. Let's start off with your experience with being a voice actor. What personal tips would you suggest to the viewers who are interested in voice work?
So I have been doing voice acting for about 4 years, but I'm a professional singer first, so I've been working with a microphone in my voice since I was probably born. So yeah, I've been working with my voice for a long time, but I also have a background in theater and film and TV. And as far as voiceover, I've been doing a lot of commercials for radio and TV for the past 4 years. And then, of course, I'm just doing Celeste recently for the video games. So, yeah.
So is Celeste your only work so far, or have you worked on any other characters in particular?
No, she is my first video game character. And yeah, I've done a lot of voiceover stuff, but like I said, it was mostly for commercials for radio and TV. So, and also I'm the voice of a docuseries right now too. So yeah, so it's really cool. And I because of my theater background and my film and TV background, I've spoken with my agent a lot about doing more animated voice work. So that's something that I'm branching into right now. And also because of the singing, doing the Disney princesses and all of that for both video games and the animated films.
So I'm going to have my host here, Mr. Justin, take over question number 2. So could you read that off, please?
Okay. How long have you been doing voice acting work, and could you name off the list of characters you've done detailing your favorite so far?
Well, like I was saying,
Like
I guess it's been about 4 years, but yeah, so Celeste is really my first video game character. But as far as my favorite roles, I have so many. I mean, I performed on Broadway, and I mean, as an actor, I have a ton of favorite roles in films. And if you go to my IMDb page, there's a bunch of movies that you can rent, and I like different roles for different reasons, but I am hoping to break more into the animated voiceover world more. But I do love doing commercials and radio as well. I fell into voiceover when I moved to Los Angeles. I was in New York before this, and I was surprised how much I fell in love with voiceover.
I actually have a question that follows this to make it a little bit more interesting. So if there was an established character out there that you wanted to voice, who would that particularly be and why?
What I'm focusing on right now is a lot of the femme fatale characters. So I guess kind of like Catwoman, where those are the type of video game roles that I would like to play, the femme fatale, as well as I had mentioned the Disney princesses, the hero voices, even something like Wonder Woman, like the hero voices. Those are kind of where I tend to live with my voice.
Can you give your best Wonder Woman impression, please?
There you go. There's her laugh.
That's really great, actually. Like, I would like to see Catwoman too, because I am a big fan of like DC Comics in general. So to see that character come to life somewhere is very exciting to see. So we're gonna move on to question number 3 here. Is there a favorite game series that you wanted to do voice actor work on but never got the chance?
I think it's the same thing. I don't think it's necessarily a certain series, although I was very honored to be part of Final Fantasy because that's been around for so long. But I think it's more about the types of characters that I would like to play, as well as neurotic characters. I really like the neurotic characters as well. So it's not a series as much as the types of roles that I want to be playing in these video games and in animated series.
And remember, she wants to be Catwoman, so she will claw your eyes out. Be aware of that, people. Put on your sunglasses and visors because she's coming for you. No,
Exactly. No, I mean, I like the independent women, the women who take control, the ones who are, and they use their sex appeal, you know. So I do. I mean, actually, I did a Carl's Jr. Hardy's radio commercial recently, and I think it might be on one of my pages. You can hear it, but it's very sexy, and a lot of those women have those like sexier voices, you know. So they like to use their sex to get what they want.
That's one way to get that. That's one way to get that.
Oh, that's pretty great.
It's
So,
like next thing you know, freaking guys are driving all over. It's like, I gotta go to Hardee's.
I know. Well, that's their whole, you know, MO. That's what they use. They use the sex appeal, which is so funny because, well, and I'm representing them, so I'm not going to say anything, but come on, like you're not going to go into Carl's Jr. and see a sexy model, you know, eating a hamburger, but they're definitely selling it that way. So whatever gets
like,
the butts in the seats, you know.
one can dream, a man can dream.
Exactly.
Well,
Maybe this will be the day. Right? There you go.
So we're gonna move on to question number 4. So, Mr. Justin, could you read that off, please?
Okay. Is there a role that you are proud of or felt it was one of your best roles that not many people know about?
You know, as far as video games, I'm going to say Celeste, but I think that one of the movies that people can get right now that it's an independent film that I have. It's called How Do You Write a Joe Sherman Song, and it's a musical, and I play the role of Evie. It's funny because it kind of parallels La La Land, and La La Land has been doing very well, and it's a much higher budget movie, but ours is the New York version of that, and I have had people tell me that it is a stronger film than La La Land. I'm just saying that's what people have said. So I think people should check it out. It's a kind of a good time to rent it and see it, to just kind of, you know, check me out in that role. And I sing, obviously, so it's a musical. So that's a role that people may have not heard of but should see me in.
The fact that you can sing and the fact that you voice Celeste is like literally just like the most one-to-one thing ever.
Thank you.
So
Now it's like I could just imagine the opera scene from FF6 now with your voice in it is like some sort of dream.
Well, and the fans have been hoping that it'll get remade, so I'm also hoping that I could reprise Celeste in that role, you know, if they do remake Final Fantasy VI. So we just got to put it out there. Everybody's got to write Square and, you know, tell them that they want it remade, and maybe you'll get to hear more of me. And maybe I'll sing the whole opera then. That'd be great. I could do that.
The
Yeah.
money they would make.
be sure to
I
pitch a
know.
tent outside of Square and let them know too. That's
Yeah.
the best statement.
Yeah.
And Square, while you guys are at it, how's that Kingdom Hearts 3 going, by the way?
Well, I actually have a side question, and that is, the recent voice actor strike. Like, what is your thoughts and opinions on that whole situation?
Um, you know, I'm not getting too involved in it right now. Whatever my agent is sending me on, whatever work is coming in, I'm focusing on that. You know, I do voiceover. I also do film and TV and commercials. I also have my own production company. So I have a lot going on. So I'm not really, I'm just taking the work where it comes. You know, I don't really want to say too much on that right now.
Oh, that's totally understandable. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people have been, talking about it. It's been circulating in the media. So I wanted to see if I can get your opinion on it. But if you can't really go into depth, that's totally fine.
Yeah. Not right now.
So, so we're gonna move on to number 5. So, what's your favorite personal video game or comic book character in terms of look, voice, and presentation?
World of Final Fantasy. No, I'm just kidding. I I have to be honest with you guys, and I don't want everyone to hate me, but this is a new world for me. And so this is something that I'm trying to do more research on and delve into more. And my fiance actually had a PlayStation for a while and it got stolen. And I have been talking to, my coaches and people that I work with, and they're like, you need to get another one and start playing these video games, because the more you play them, the more work you're going to book and the more you'll understand like the games that are out there. And so I personally have a lot more research to do, which is my advice to other people who are getting into it. Make sure you know the games, make sure you know what characters and what character types you're going for. But yeah, I might be getting myself a PlayStation so I can start doing more of that.
Oh yes, more research is better because it helps you understand all the roles a lot better. Like you have more of an understanding and knowledge going in, as opposed to saying, I don't have much background about this, so I don't know what could I do to convey the voice. So I think that is very good advice to have.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on actually and skip number 6. We're gonna move on to number 7. So Justin, could you read that off, please?
All right. Do you have any other voice actors that you appreciate in the industry? Any personal favorites to list off, if any?
Yeah, I do actually. Tara Strong, obviously, I mean, a lot of people know who she is, but she does, she's one of the most known. She's done a lot of voice work. She's done a lot of different characters. And so I've done research on her. I also worked with this guy named Phil Buckman, who, once again, it was for actually Carl's Jr. and Hardee's, but he has been the voice of Carl's Jr. For like 10 or 15 years, something like that. So when I was working with him, it was really cool. We kept in touch, and he's kind of given me more insight into the industry as well. So I think, I personally, as a voice actor, one of the smart things to do is to kind of know where your types are, know what your types are. Not everybody can do everything. So like I said, if I'm researching femme fatale characters and Disney princesses and hero women, those are the type of voice actors that I'll be looking at mostly. And you might not know who they are, but they're working and they're doing these characters all the time. And those are the people that I'm learning from.
All right, so we're going to move on to number 8. So, have you ever been to any conventions to meet the fans, or do you have any big plans to go to one?
Well, ever since World of Final Fantasy, I've had a lot of people telling me to try to come to Comic-Con, and once again, it's new to me, but it's something that I definitely want to do, and I just have to do more research on, getting out there, or if people want me out there, however that works. But I would love to. I love going to fan conventions. I do it a bunch for like my films and things. So as far as voiceover, I would love to do more of that. Absolutely. So if you know of anything, you guys want me anywhere, just tell somebody or tell me and we'll get me there.
Yeah, the experience seems really great. Like, we had Jessica Strauss on board, and she really loved going to these conventions to meet the fans. It's a whole new experience, so I would definitely recommend it. So I'm gonna let Justin take the next question, and that is question number. Let me see here. That's number 9.
All right, then. As a professional voice actor, are you a fan of film, and has it influenced any of your voice acting?
I think this is going to be obvious.
Well,
from our previous conversation, 100% yes. I think that good voice actors come from theater first. I'm not saying that you can't start in voice acting, but I think the more you know about developing a character, the more you know about different character types and breaking down scripts, the better you're going to be as a voice actor. So as far as film and theater, everybody needs to kind of be aware of those mediums and train in them if you want to be a voice actor.
All right, that is excellent advice, actually.
Very true.
Like, how was it your first time trying to like break into voice acting?
It's interesting. My first time getting my very first voiceover job, I was in New York and I was doing mocap actually. And I did mocap for about 6 years with this company called Animated Storyboards. And they did a bunch of things. They were 4 commercials. They were animated storyboards for commercials. And so I would do modeling for them. I would do motion capture for them. And then in the end, I was doing voice for them as well. So they were the first ones to get me involved in voiceover. And then when I moved to Los Angeles 4 years ago, I got my agent out here. And that's kind of when I started working a lot in voiceover. But yeah, I kind of fell into my lap in a way. But I think with the video game stuff, it's really interesting because I had done so much radio and commercials for TV that I wasn't as familiar with that world. So when I auditioned for World of Final Fantasy, I auditioned in like September of 2015. I didn't hear anything until I think it was February, end of February. So it took like a good amount of months before I knew that I was cast in it. And I had actually auditioned for 5 other roles. So that's kind of how it works. You might be auditioning for 5 different roles in a game. And they were like, well, we actually think she's right for this role. So even the 5 roles I auditioned for, I didn't get. I got Celeste because they thought I was right for Celeste. Because if you give a good audition and your voice is right for something, they might find a place for you, right? So it's just interesting how it works because when you book a commercial, you find out much faster. And video games and animated series, it could take 6-7 months, years to actually get cast in something or to know that you're cast in it. And then also the entire process of, being in the booth for the video game was a whole different thing too. Would you like to hear about that?
Yeah. Did you have like any, did you torture any people in the booth? You kept them in there for a prolonged period of time saying you want to play a game? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, well, it was kind of cool because I had 4 days that I worked with them, 4 different days, and it's just you and then the producers and the director that are there. So it's very intimate. It's really, I told my fiance at the end, I was so sad by the end of it because you get so close to them in such a short period of time and then it's done and you're like, oh, because you knock it out because you're, there for 4 or 5 hours and it's just you and lines. And I didn't even know I booked World of Final Fantasy because of the NDA. That's how it works until I got there. I didn't know what character I was playing. It's very interesting. It's not like film and TV where you get to study your role and study your script. They just hand it to you in the room and they, because they like where you were going with the character, you take it from there and you go line by line. And this was also obviously Japanese first. So we were dubbing. And so you had to, keep the same essence of that character and still bring your own personality to it and still time everything right. It was very challenging, but it was a lot of fun.
I bet it's really fun when it's so random, but you just land a role that you never expected. I think that's what adds to the greatness of it all is the fact that you really don't know what to bring to the table until they actually tell you.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's very, because of having my theater, like I said, my theater and film background, I was so used to really breaking down my scripts and working on my characters. So it's kind of an on the fly thing. And I have improv experience. And because of my training, I was able to go in the room and do that. But for people that aren't familiar with it, it's something that they need to know happens. You have to be like on your game instantly and constantly throughout the entire, it's just you and them for like 4 hours in the booth until your next day,
Absolutely, yes. And it's good, it's really good advice for people to have in the long run, considering the fact that there's so many people who wants to get into voice acting. Mr. Justin over here, he is great at voices. He will tell you immediately.
Uh-huh. Do you want to do some voices? Do you want to do some voices for us, Justin?
Yes, please, entertain us.
Like what? What do you want me to do? I need more context. Do we
Try
need more than just that?
That's actually pretty good.
Go.
Right, which one? Which one are you trying to tell me, Red? What?
Try to be like a 1930s mobster.
Now you put him on the spot.
All right, listen
Yes.
here. The thing is, you're gonna get Paulie the money by Thursday because here's the thing, though. You've been avoiding us too long, Tony. I'm getting really sick of this.
There you go.
He's so great at that. But we're gonna move on to question number 10 now. So, what are the typical mistakes that you can make regarding voice acting?
Oh, I think, gosh, there's a bunch of them. Well, you do want to be able to make sure that you're breaking down your scripts and you're not rushing into your auditions where you just feel like you can throw something down because there's too many people that are working really hard and spending the time on them. And you have to make really strong choices. You can't just, not understand what the character is. You need to understand the character and then make a strong choice with it. I also think that something that some voice actors can make a mistake with is not breathing properly or taking care of your vocal cords when you're doing certain auditions where you're screaming or dying or getting hurt, because you could lose your voice very quickly. So you have to be breathing correctly and standing correctly. And those are all important things to make sure that you're doing so you don't hurt yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Like, I think what was it? David Hayter. I think he mentioned that he strained his vocal cords doing MGS4. Like, he said that he was just drinking, trying to get gravelly enough to do that voice, and it hurt his vocal cords in the long run. That type of stuff is quite. I mean, it's impressive how dedicated someone is to the role to do something like that, but in the long run, you have to tell yourself, is it worth it to strain my cords to the point where I just have problems talking or speaking? And in the long run, the question is obviously going to be no. So you do have to have that sort of self-control as to what you're doing, especially in roles.
Well,
Makes you
yeah, and
wonder,
it's the
makes you
same
wonder how
thing
Sean
with.
Schimmel keeps doing his stuff, actually.
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh yeah, well yeah, definitely. And you can't, it's one of those things where it's not worth it, because if you end up getting nodes or something, and this happens with singers too, then you have to have surgery and maybe your voice will never be the same. And if you're making money off your voice, you really have to take care of it. And it's, drinking the right things and not smoking and all of these things that help maintain your body and your machine,
The machine.
the machine.
If there's too much smoke in the machine, you're just gonna end up talking like this.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Inside, we're all Terminators.
Yeah.
But we're
I
gonna
need
move
your
on.
clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Oh my god.
It's just you don't want to like be talking like this, you know.
God,
You know what I'm saying? It just hurts your voice.
God damn it! Turn up the thermostat.
Oh, this is so fun. So,
Yep.
so we're gonna move on to question number 12 now. So, Justin, could you read that off, please?
What's the best and worst thing about voice acting in your experience?
Well, the best thing is I have my own booth at home, so I get to do some work from home. I get to book jobs from home. I get to do my auditions from home. I know a lot of voice actors say this, but it's true. It's just nice to not have to like get all dressed up or do your makeup or your hair to do a job, when you can just walk into the booth and, put on your A game without having to like style your hair. And like, for film and TV, you have to have your makeup perfect and your hair perfect and dabbing and all the time, and you just don't have to worry about any of that for voiceover, which is awesome. And I mentioned this like a little bit ago, but I do like the intimacy of it, because it is literally just you and who you're working with, whether it be the producer or the director in the room. And so it's just, there's not like 50 or 100 people on set with you. It's a lot more intimate when you're in the booth at the studio. And then I think the worst thing, and we did talk about this too, but I do believe is the strain of your voice, especially because I am a singer. So if I have a job that's a little bit harder on my vocal cords and then I have to go perform in a show and I have to sing, it's a little bit harder for me. So I try to take care of my voice as much as possible. But regardless of how good you're taking care of your voice, sometimes certain characters just do more damage than others. And it's just part of the beast, just part of doing voiceover.
I think the hardest characters would be the high-pitched ones. Oh my god, that would be crazy on the voice. Yeah.
Well, it's also just what's really exhausting, not necessarily for the voice, but just in general, is a lot of the high energy, not necessarily in pitch, but the high energy characters that you have in animated series and films and things, where you're physicalizing everything. So you're standing in the booth and if you're running, you're like running and you're moving and you're jumping and you're looking side to side, and then you're like hitting something and you're and like that gets exhausting over time, So those things are difficult too. I mean, I'll leave after like a half hour sometimes and be like, I am tired, I need a nap. Depending on the character.
Battle cry recordings must be exhausting then.
Yes, well, that's the screaming. Even just for an audition, like when you're dying and you're having to do this, like they want like a 15-second death or whatever, and you're on fire. I mean, that stuff, no matter what you're doing to protect your voice, is exhausting, and you feel it like immediately afterwards. So you just gotta, keep practicing and keep working on it and take care of your voice as much as you can.
Gotta sound like you're going Super Saiyan.
Yep, yep.
All right, so this topic right here might be a little NDA-ish or hot button, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Is there any future roles that you could perhaps talk about to get us excited?
So, as far as voiceover, you know that you can't do a lot of that stuff. If it hasn't been announced yet, you can't say anything. So, I do have some projects in the works, but I can tell you about some of my on camera stuff because I can. So, right now, actually, if anybody's watching, they can see me in the Orange Theory Fitness commercial that I'm on camera for, and I'm the voiceover for it, which happens so rarely. I don't know if you guys know that. Like, it is so rare to be the voiceover and the on camera for a commercial. I have a story for it. I
Oh,
don't know if you
please
guys
tell
want
us.
to.
Please.
I'll try to make it short because I just feel like this is part of being a determined, driven actor. But I had booked the on camera. I was on set. I had 2 days of shooting for the commercial, and I knew because I knew the spot that there was a voiceover for it. And normally they shoot the commercial and then they cast the voiceover, months later because they have to edit the commercial and see whose voice fits with the commercial. Well, I kind of, I became friends with like the producers and the client, and somehow they had asked what I had been up to, and World of Final Fantasy came up because I was finally able to announce it at that time. And so they found out that I do voiceover, which I was kind of hoping they would, but it kind of happened organically. And then they, through my agent, they were like, okay, well, we'll have you audition for it. And so long story short, I auditioned for it with other people. And I think because I was the on camera and because I already knew them, and because I ended up being the right voice type in the end, I ended up booking it. But it was a whole process. I mean, I didn't even know I booked the voiceover until like 5 months after I shot the commercial. So it was pretty cool. So there's like 3 spots going on right now, and you can see me on camera and voiceover for all those. And then if anybody wants to see my movie 1111 is coming out, I think either this year or the beginning of next year, but it's with Charles Baker from Breaking Bad and Krista Allen. And then you can also, I mentioned How Do You Write a Joe Sherman Song, but you can rent that on iTunes or Netflix right now, and I think people should get that. And then I'm also in a show just for any of the LA people. I'm in a musical right now, and it's at the City Crown Theater in North Hollywood, but the run ends at the end of February, so you only have a couple more weeks to see me. And it started in December, so it's been running a while, but if anybody wants to see it, Friday and Saturday nights, City Crown Theater. How's that for pitching myself, guys? How's
Yes,
that?
give Christina all of the money.
Yeah, and then obviously people can follow me on like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and you guys can either put the link up or I can tell them what it is. But
Sure, I can put it like right in the description as soon as the video is done. I can actually do that for you, no problem.
Fabulous. Well, that was fun, guys. Thank you.
All right, actually we have like
More questions?
I will say 2 more questions really quickly.
Sure.
How was your experience with working on the world of Final Fantasy?
I touched a little bit on this, but I think the fact that I had to dub the Japanese was interesting at first. My first day, I was like trying to kind of like feel out, okay, what is this, and like who is this character, and because it was my first day. But by like day 2, day 3, I was like, oh, I get it. I'm in this. I'm in it to win it, and it was fun. I mean, the producers, the director, the entire team that I worked with were just so much fun. I was so sad when I had to be done with it. And the character, I mean, Celeste is awesome, as you guys know, whoever's played the game. Like, it's an awesome game. She's an awesome character, and I'm just so proud to be part of that series and that franchise. Yeah.
And we have Mr. Justin to close out with the last question, so I'm going to let him go ahead and answer that.
All right. In closing, are there any more tips you would give for aspiring voice actors?
Any ones that I haven't given yet? Yeah, I think so, actually. I don't think you're ever too old to be a voice actor, but I do think the earlier you start, the better. So whenever you start to have a bug, if you are a kid or a teenager, I say get into the industry as soon as possible. I think that goes for everything. I think it goes for film, TV, theater, everything. I don't have any regrets. I lived in Michigan my whole life. I went to college. I on one hand, I thought, well, maybe if I was, 10 years old or 11 years old and I got into this industry, I'd be further along, or I'd have stronger credits, or, whatever. But I love my journey, and I love my path, and I love the work that I've gotten and that I continue to get. So I think everybody has their own path. But I do recommend, if you are interested at all, get involved as soon as possible and take classes and take voice lessons and just get yourself as marketable as possible.
Awesome.
I think that's it.
Awesome advice, actually. Bravo. So we're going to do outros here, but I have one request. Could you please give us an introduction saying that this is Christina Rose and you're watching the Co-Operative Podcast and your best Celeste voice?
So what was it? This is Christina Rose and you're watching the Co-Operative broadcast?
Podcast.
Oh, podcast. Okay. Hey guys, this is Christina Rose, and you're watching the productive. What was it?
Co-Operative Podcast.
I should write this down. See, I normally have a script when I do my voiceover, you guys. I don't have to memorize it. This is Christina Rose, and you're watching what?
The Co-Operative Podcast.
Co-Operative Podcast. Okay. This is Christina Rose, and you're watching the Co-Operative Podcast.
Beautiful. So, Christina, I want you to do your outro, and then we're going to let you go, and then we're going to do ours for the recording. So, where can we find you, like, on social media and stuff like that? Like, plug yourself.
Okay, you can find me on Facebook at Christina Rose-Actress, on Twitter at Christina Rose 12, and Instagram at Christina_Rose.
Searching already.
Yes. This was a great interview. I had a lot of fun. Christina, anytime in the future, like when you're doing a lot more projects and we could talk about a lot more, and a lot more is going on in voice acting, I think it would be awesome to have you back on board anytime in the future. It was a real good pleasure having you. And like I said, you're always welcome to come back to our podcast anytime.
Thanks so much, guys. I had fun, and I will definitely come back.
Thank you so much. We're going to let you go, but you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for being here.
You too. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. My mom is being annoying, so I'm going to do my outro. So you can find me on Twitter, YouTube. You can find me on... I had a brain fart there. But you can find me on YouTube at Renegade Operative. You can find me on Twitter at Ren_Operative. No, it's Ren Operative _. God damn it. I just cannot think with my mom going insane right now. But yeah, you can find me there. I'll be uploading this podcast on the Co-Operative Experience pretty soon. It'll probably be up tonight. So Justin, could you do your outro, please?
Got it. You can find me on Twitter at Inferno Dragon 3D. You can find me on YouTube, Twitch, Xbox, Steam, even VidMe, all under the same name of Inferno Dragon 343. Yeah, I just use the same name for pretty much almost everything.
All over the place. This man's like a legend.
All over the place, y'all.
All right, so thanks for watching, the audience out there in YouTube land. Hopefully you enjoyed this fun little interview. It was great. Like I said, if Christina wants to come back in the future, she probably will. I'll keep up to touch with her as well. And I will see you guys next time. So, laters.
Don't take the mushrooms.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't be like Mario.
I'm Luigi. God damn it. Every time.